Alright y'all, it's time to do a little bit of turkey scouting slash shed hunting. I've got my kayak with me. I think it's going to be the best way to get to where I'm going. Also give me the option to cross the creek since it is upflowing a little too high for my boots. Honestly, it's a little too high to even wade across right now, but it's not too high to paddle upstream. At least hopefully not. I got about 3/4 of a mile to go up before I get out and start walking the creek bottom, so I'm not going to waste any time here. Get my kayak and I got to carry it a couple hundred yards maybe down to the creek. Water's a little too quick for me to paddle up this little stretch here. I can set her down now. Put my paddle there so I can find my kayak when I come back. On my way up here, about 100 yards down that way, I jumped some deer off the bed that were near the bank. The goal today is to cover ground as much as possible. This area here that I'm walking, this creek bottom, it's mostly bottom. I got about 75 acres of woods that are public. Looks like this was a scrape. That's the licking branch. And this is the rub. Pretty good one. You got a red oak here that's still got acorns everywhere. I'm gonna crack a couple open and see if they're still good, but I imagine the turkeys have been feeding on them. They're probably pretty fat this year. Last year we had a bumper crop of red oak acorns that held over the winter like this. The birds were all heavier than usual. I killed all my heaviest birds that season, and there were still acorns on the ground this time of year. So this stretch that I'm trying to cover today, like I said, is 75 acres approximately of public on this side of the creek, but distance lengthwise, I think it's about a mile of creek frontage. So far, this is prime habitat like I knew it was. I've been here. I've been just barely touched into this 2 or 3 years ago scouting for turkeys. Never came all the way back here to turkey hunt. Walking in is a kind of a chore. That's why I took the kayak today, because floating out is going to be a lot easier than walking back out. Also, I've deer hunted across the creek here once or twice, and I've killed a deer, so generally just a good area here. The few times I've been in here, I've seen flocks of turkeys. Between all the deer and turkey sign, hopefully we'll find something promising for the upcoming season, and maybe find a shed too. Found the first bone of the day. Now where's the rest of it? Now I think if a deer was shot and wounded, or if it got sick or whatever, a lot of times deer will die near body water. They go to die in a creek or pond or near one or whatever. Something keeps telling me go look down in the green by the creek. That's our deer, I think. It's hard to say. Oh, it's chewed up. I'm pretty sure this is our deer I was looking for. The lower jaws are nowhere to be seen, but looking at the teeth on top, they are worn down smooth. I would say the doe either got sick and died or died of old age. That's a pretty cool find. And just like I said, right here, the creek right here, the deer died close to the water. Here we're on just a slight ridge that drops down into this green bottom. It's not real steep. but it's enough that's got my attention as far as turkeys. Now, I don't know if you can see behind me where the creek is. There's a big rock bluff, and they'll come off a private on the other side and roost up on top of that bluff. They'll just pitch off the edge and fly into a tree branch. And the creek curves around here, and we got this nice green bottom down there. And then up here we got a little bit of a rise. So I think turkeys are either going to roost right on the water, like they really like roosting right over the creek. They'll roost up on that bluff, and then they may roost right on this transition here between high ground and low ground where we got some hardwoods. I'm still looking for turkey sign. So it's a little early. They're still grouped up quite a bit, so they're all going to be in one general area more likely. And they're not going to be scattered out like they will in a few weeks here. They'll probably be scattered all through this bottom. Come back here during season, I'll bet I could get on one. I hate walking into the sun when I'm shed hunting because everything's either a glare or a silhouette. And that goes for antlers too. They just don't stand out at all. Here's a normal sized doe track. I don't know if you can see that very well, but here's the dew claws. There's the track. About average sized doe. Doe tracks can get bigger than that for sure. I've killed does with bigger feet than that. That's about average. Here's this real big one here where its feet are spread apart. That thing's almost the size of a cow. That's whitetail. The doe tracks go down this trail, the buck track goes this way. This green field across the creek looks pretty nice. Looks like a good little strutting area, and it is public, but it doesn't go much farther past that field. Looks like we got a turkey track. It's been rained on, but that's a turkey track. A good sign. The ground here is torn up, but it's all armadillos. Haven't seen any definite turkey scratch. Like I said earlier, they're going to be in here at some point this spring. Once the big flocks really break up, they'll be in here for sure. Now we're getting into some good looking hardwoods here. The way this property line goes, I think I can get to the top of the ridge. I can't go anywhere up top, but at least I could get up there and maybe see. Possibly find a place to set up if there aren't birds roosting up there. It would be a real bear to get all the way back here before daylight, but if I could make it back here, it would take me a while, but once I got back here, if I get to this high ground before daylight, if there's not already a bird roosted up here, this would be a great place to listen. I can hear him way down across the creek. I can hear him upstream. I can hear him back down towards where my kayak is. Love getting to a high point like this to listen in the morning if I'm not sure where exactly they're roosted. So looking at the map real quick, looking down this bluff, there's a creek. This green field out here is public, at least this side of it is. Now over there is private. But it's a real short grass, like they cut hay or whatever. Be a great spot for turkeys to pitch down in the morning and strut around and do their thing. And then we got this other ridge top. I don't know if you can see, there's another ridge over there that's all private on top. Down here in between this ridge and that one, there's a bottom down there that's public. I'm going to go down there and see what it looks like before I head back. But I also really like the look of that field. So it looks pretty good down here so far. I can't go uphill hardly anywhere. It's pretty much just limited to this creek bottom now. I don't like to set up below a bird if at all possible, because if a bird's up on top of that ridge behind me and I set up down here, it's pretty open down here usually, and I call to him, he gobbles, he comes up over top of that ridge and looks down, doesn't see anything. He's a lot less likely to come all the way down if he can stand up there and look down and not see anything. So, whereas on the other hand, if I'm up on top of the ridge, I can't see down the bottom, that bird's got to come all the way up to me, which is a lot more likely to give me a shot in range. However, this spot, like I said, has some cover. It's got some terrain features too. It's got a little bit of irregular terrain. Looks like there's a big wad of honeysuckle bushes up there. If I sit up 20-30 yards behind some thick cover and a bird's up on top gobbling, I think he's more likely to come on right on down and look for me, because he can't look down and see me because there's too much thick stuff down here. Also, it looks like a really good roosting area right on the creek. They'll come off of those private properties in the evening and come down here and fly up to these big hardwood trees down by the creek bank. So if they're not roosted here, I'd still try and strike one. Just really good habitat in general. Well, it looks like we have run out of land, and as I mentioned earlier, this field out here is public. Looks really nice and pretty. It'd be cool to see one straight around out there. So this spot looks pretty good. The worst part of it is getting back here. Close to 2 miles to get back here, almost half of which is by water. I think the way I came in here is the best way to do it, unless I'm here with somebody else and we decide to put in and take out and just float the whole stretch. I think that's a pretty solid plan, actually. If me and somebody else were going to take a whole day here and just float through and stop and get out, keep floating the whole way through, probably about 4.5 miles total. So the only other way to get in here is by foot. It's not restricted to water access only, but if I want to hit both sides of the creek, it's nice to have a way to cross. The creek should be down a little bit. If it ever quits raining here, the creek should come down to a level where it can actually be crossed by wading in a lot of places. I can walk in from the road the whole way down this way that I came down this side of the creek, but it's a whole lot of up and down, and it gets pretty thick in places, so it's almost a little easier to paddle, especially since I get to drift back downstream on the way out. That's the nicest part of it, is getting to drift back down. But we're gonna head on back, keep an eye out for sheds or turkeys or anything else. So thanks for sticking with me. Stick around, because I might be chasing turkeys sooner than usual this year. Tennessee doesn't open till the 30th of this month, but Alabama opens this weekend. So see if I can find me a bird down there.